been absolutely amazing the last 3 years. Obviously, when I joined, it was a much smaller org. It was this group of highly passionate people united in this mission to change the way India eats. And I think obviously we've grown a lot since then, expanded the number of cities, and I've had a role to play in that. But what's really powered our growth is whenever we've come up against a really big problem, we've been able to bring the right people on board, work with them, infect with them with a sense of mission, and really drive the org forward every day, every month, every quarter. And I think that's also happened because the org is very, very passionate about learning more and being curious and trying to find answers to problems. So the sense of mission is there's a consumer and they have a consumer problem, and the consumer comes first, is absolutely the heart of what we do. And then whatever we need to do to solve problems to make that consumer's life better is something that we all get behind and get done. And that's been absolutely wonderful to see at Swiggy over the last 3 years. So business at Swiggy is actually divided into two parts. There's a business operations team which manages all of the cities, the restaurant relationships, the driver executive relationships, etc. I manage actually something called business strategy and planning, and that obviously, as the name suggests, is large parts of strategy. So what's our annual plan, what's our quarter plan, how do we deliver it, and so on. Also the consumer strategy, which is what are the big consumer problems that we are seeing. Moms with kids food needs is something that we would be very passionate about. For example, we'd want to solve office food problems, etc. How do we deliver food quicker and make food easily available to consumers is another big consumer need that we are seeing, etc. So that's the second part of what I do. And then obviously I manage a large number of strategic projects. For example, I was managing the expansion to over 500 cities now. We are in over 100 campuses under the Launchpad program. Swiggy Super Loyalty program has over 1 million members. We have a product called Swiggy Pop, which is targeting the needs of people who want single serve meals delivered quickly, etc. So this and many, many more. So large number of strategic projects as well is part of the charter. So I think the business team is just a bunch of problem solvers. They are great generalists. The interesting thing is also that essentially they come from one of two backgrounds. So we have a bunch of people who've come from consulting background, etc. Maybe slightly earlier in their career, but bring great sort of structured problem solving chops. On the other hand, we have a bunch of people who come from great experience, bring a lot of on-ground experience, understand how the world operates, etc. And putting these two together is really where the magic happens. Obviously, it's a young team, very curious team, always trying to solve problems together. So a lot of fun gets done along the way, but it's also very mission. It has a great sense of mission. We understand that we are tasked with moving the company forward, with solving these consumer problems in a timely manner, and that's something that I think this team is particularly passionate about. Yeah, that's an interesting one. So I think like all kids, I've cycled through various ambitions at various points of time, from wanting to be a tennis player or a cricketer to wanting to be someone famous in some other field, etc. But I think the ones that stayed with me and in some form I'm still at it today, is I wanted to be an astronaut. And the part about it is not really the flying in space part of it, but really the the thing about astronauts is that when you are up there in space, it's not like you can bring in new things easily, etc. Literally a rocket has to take it up to you. So you have what you have, and then the problems that you have, you need to solve with the tools that you have. And that's really the magic of being an astronaut. They are the world's, I think, most experienced and best mechanics. In my heart of heart, I think I've always been a mechanic. And in some small way, still trying to be a mechanic today, trying to solve problems of one form or another. So I build robots, and these are interesting. So they're built on a car chassis, and what it does is essentially it's light sensitive and it's autonomous. So what you can do with it, for example, is in a darkened room, if you were to put a strong source of light, say an emergency lamp, right? It would navigate around in that dark room and find it on its own. And this is essentially moth behavior. This is what moths do. What people I think don't realize is that the inverse of this, the negative of this, is what is called cockroach behavior, which is essentially the same thing, but you just turn a switch and it moves away from the light as far as it can. It finds the darkest corner that it can go to, and that is exactly what cockroaches do. So many people obviously don't see it as inverse of each other, but these are essentially the same behavior, and the same robot will perform both tasks just depending on which switch you flip. I'm sure not many people know about it, but I think it all connects back to this idea of building something, checking if it works, iterating as you go. That's a part of what I do today, and that I think that's always going to be a part of me.